Texas Parks and Wildlife television series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sportfish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $40 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. And by Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, helping to keep Texas wild with the support of proud members across the state. Find out more at tpwf.org. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
It's going really well. I like the color so far. Right now I'm working on the final touches.
As a guide and as a fly shop owner, we really see the economic benefits of this fishery.
Back in 1992, I had the opportunity to go on a trip of a lifetime. Thanks to Big Bend River Tours, I got to go on a rafting trip down the Rio Grande River through the Santa Elena Canyon.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, taking Texans outside for 30 years.
Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Every man has his own vocation. Talent is the call." And Clemente Guzman has a talent, a gift. His calling is found on canvas.
The sun, the way it penetrates the leaves is just amazing. For me, nature is that we have disconnected ourselves from nature, and we need to connect ourselves back to take care of it.
One of 9 children, Clemente grew up in Doss, Texas. His granddad, his father, even Clemente and his siblings, they all worked the fields and farmlands of the U.S. as migrant workers.
To be a migrant worker, at first I was ashamed of that, because, man, people see you kind of down. But actually, it has made me stronger, being able to appreciate life.
Clemente is the artist for Texas Parks and Wildlife. For 25 years now, he's been working on everything from license plates to posters to hunting stamps.
I need to be looking at it, so I'm going to put it right here, like this.
Today, he's just starting on a new project.
Usually what I do first, I'll throw some paint in there, but it's light. I don't go intense with it and kind of sketching it in a way, but it was paint. But I want the gray color to be kind of like a fuzzy, have like a fuzzy look to it. And that'll make it look like it's far away.
He discovered his talent for painting wildlife at an early age.
My first painting was a sparrow. I painted a sparrow on a twig. After that, I fell in love with that.
This painting of bison will be a cover for an issue of Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine.
So right now I'm using a medium-sized brush and I'm applying the dark color on there. I'm about 40% done. So I still need to paint the buffalo, the foreground. The painting is still in the loose form. I'm not into the detail yet. I can see all kinds of colors working together. The blues and the oranges, the highlight on the wool of the buffalo. I think it's gonna be a powerful piece. When they see my painting, they see the hawk or they see a raccoon, a fish. You know, try to show it to you in a way that I saw it. I hope I can translate the energy that nature has. You know, that's just life, and life at its best.
To keep his creative spirit alive, Clemente takes a break from his work
Oh, that's beautiful.
to get outside.
You know, we come to work every day. We don't even see this. We just get up, go straight to work and start working, and we forget all about this. And you gotta come out here to experience it. This little spot is very spiritual to me. It's very full of energy through the little pebbles, the noise of the water. It's just peaceful and relaxing. And I get all kinds of ideas running through my head. I get a lot of inspiration. And I use that inspiration on my artwork. You always think, where does this come from, your inspiration for wildlife? My dad, I remember my dad telling me a story about, you know, he went to work. He's a laborer. They encountered this possum. All the workers were like, kill it, and we can keep on working. And my dad grabbed it by the tail and released it where the pecan trees are. And all the workers were like, why didn't you kill it? You know, well, you know. And he said, why? It's life. Animals have a right to live. You know, that to me was powerful when he did that. It's going really well. I like the color so far. Right now I'm working on the final touches.
When all was finished, Clemente spent a month on the painting.
I had a lot of fun working on the fur, on the buffalo, the nice warm colors, and the steam coming out of the nostrils. I also like the nice transition from the mountains to the buffalo.
So in the end, thanks to family, his challenges overcome, his discovered inspiration, now that talent, his calling, continues.
I found what I want to do. I'm happy, and everybody needs to search for that. And I don't know if it's in nature, being a doctor, helping people, but you need to find what moves you, what grabs you. Once you find that, there's nothing that can stop you.
There go the fish. There they go. The mission of Guadalupe River Trout Unlimited is to protect, restore the Guadalupe River fishery. We've been around for about 50 years. The trout fishery that exists came into being when Canyon Dam was erected a number of years ago. Below the dam, the water became too cold for many of our warm water species to thrive. And some far-thinking people at that time decided that putting trout in the river that would be the best way to restore an opportunity for the public to fish. So for about 13 miles below the dam, Canyon Dam here, we have a world-class trout fishery. And through the years, typical of Central Texas, we've had years of drought and flood. Some of those floods have been devastating. We've been working closely with organizations in the area to restore the damage that's done when it happens.
I'm fortunate that I'm a Texas native, and I've been fishing this river for all my life, really. And the river has gone through tremendous changes over the years. We've seen high flows and low flows, but when GTRU came in and started their chapter, it really changed the way this river has been utilized. We started stocking rainbows, and over the years we've done many things, including the support of more limited harvest restrictions on the river. That has allowed more river fish to stay in the river and allowed the river to flourish. And that's attracted sportsmen from all over the world down here. It's really amazing.
I got you, Craig.
We encourage catch and release to return the fish to the river as quickly as you can and handle them very carefully so that this resource can continue, so that the efforts that Guadalupe River Trout Unlimited are putting into making this a world-class fishery can continue, and other people have an opportunity to catch that same fish that you caught.
As a guide and as a fly shop owner, we really see the economic benefits of this fishery. The local town of Sattler, New Braunfels, those local areas see the immediate economic impact of people stopping into restaurants and gas stations, and many of us make it a habit just to fill up our gas tank before we leave town, just to support to the area fishery and the local town and community.
In January 2015, Guadalupe River Trout Unlimited held its first annual youth trout camp. That was here right on the river, where kids experienced fly fishing, river recreation, fly tying, and the kids got a guided half-day trip here on the Guadalupe River. If these kids enjoy the river, they start caring about the river, and the next thing you know, they'll want to conserve and protect the river. What we saw was a conservation legacy being developed firsthand over that weekend of our trout camp.
Guiding this river is a real pleasure simply because we are able to bring people out here to catch rainbow trout that are some of the biggest that people have ever caught. We've landed 27 and 28-inch rainbow trout out of this river, which is absolutely surreal. That's a big fish for anywhere. Ooh. Those are large rainbow trout, and we're seeing that in Central Texas.
Okay, we're ready to go fishing.
So it's really a wonderful fishery, a precious commodity. Catch and release is something that's near and dear to our hearts. To see a sustainable trout fishery in Central Texas is absolutely Guadalupe River Trout Unlimited's main purpose and goal. And there you go, there's your nice Guadalupe River rainbow.
It was 30 years ago that the Texas Parks and Wildlife television series, originally known as Made in Texas, got its start. Catherine Palmer is one of more than 30 producers, photographers, writers, and editors who have contributed to the show since its first broadcast in 1985.
I'm Catherine Palmer, and I was a producer here at Texas Parks and Wildlife for about 5 years. And back in 1992, I had the opportunity to go on a trip of a lifetime. Thanks to Big Bend River Tours, I got to go on a rafting trip down the Rio Grande River through the Santa Elena Canyon. Besides the awe-inspiring scenery, 1,500-foot cliffs, even a Class 4 rapids, the people that I met were really wonderful. There was a poet, there was an art gallery owner from New York, and then the river guides were so experienced. So it's a trip that I will never forget.
The desolation of the Chihuahuan Desert is bisected by a muddy brown river. The Rio Grande story unfolds in each twist and turn of this mighty river's course. For those traveling by raft, the journey is filled with the unexpected. Wild white water, Ocotillo in bloom, abandoned forts along its swollen banks. The river has so many tales to share with those who travel with it.
Mexicans call it the Rio Bravo, which actually makes a lot more sense. The Rio Grande in English. The Rio Bravo has more of a gutsy feeling to it now, which is what it is.
Those oar stands can go inside.
Here, let's handle that one over there.
The bus, fully loaded, heads down to the river. A raft trip on the Rio Grande is always exciting, but recent heavy rains will make this trip even more of a challenge. The Rio Grande forms the border between Mexico and Texas. Where the river encounters the southern tip of the Rocky Mountains, it turns abruptly from its leisurely southeastern course to the northeast. Hence, the area is called the Big Bend. This trip takes place here, a 19-mile-long section, which includes the Santa Elena Canyon.
Is there a little bitty one? Is there a little bitty one? There's a small medium right there. Right there, that's a small medium.
A men's skinny.
A men's skinny.
If you fall out of the boat, even if you get knocked out, if you hit your head on a rock and you break a rock, the life jacket will turn you right side up and float you.
In the river, you get this feel for the river, and it's real hard to express, but it's that thing, that non-verbal thing, that is what I probably prize most about knowing the river. It's that feeling of moving with it in all its different moods, and you know it's something other than you, and it's totally alive unto itself.
I dream of being in deep waters, an ocean that's 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 feet deep, and I'm at the bottom.
Fossil shells found in the area indicate that the Big Bend once lay under a shallow sea. Since that time, over 100 million years ago, tremendous transformations have occurred. An uplift in the ocean floor pushed the sea aside. Violent volcanic eruptions created the mountains we see today. The land continued to shift and change. An alteration in climate increased the rainfall in this area, creating the river we now know as the Rio Grande. Slowly, the moving water carved and is still carving the canyon that is along this route. The landscapes that lie to either side of the river are remnants of these past geologic events. First evidence of human habitation has been dated back 10,000 years. Today, visitors to the area can see remains of more recent cultures. Ahead on our trip, we encounter a 200-year-old presidio, the Spanish word for fort.
The presidio probably dates back to the late 1700s, early 1800s. And what I've heard from some historians is they think it's dated from the Franciscan monks that were coming through here, setting up little forts along the routes that the Indians used to travel quite a bit.
Native Americans, Spaniards, soldiers, missionaries. The Rio Grande has played host to all these explorers, and now river rafters are added to this list. Unlike the explorers before them, people today make sure they leave no trace of their visit behind them, take nothing but memories away.
Right, look at that. Shoot. God.
Oh my God.
Oh, the wagon wheel, there it is.
A new day on the river begins as the rafters immediately encounter the rapids that lead into the Santa Elena Canyon. These rapids only foreshadow the roaring white water ahead. The rock slide, the only really dangerous rapids on this trip, is just inside the sheer canyon walls. With the river swollen by recent rains, even the most seasoned in this group can't predict what they will encounter. A lot of hearts are beating a little faster, but all the rafts have made it safely through. Though the river remains relatively calm for the rest of this journey, the desert that lies to either side is as harsh and dangerous as the rapids that have been left behind.
I mean, this place is so desolate and vacant, and it frightens a lot of people.
The Spaniards described this area with its arid climate, el despoblado, uninhabitable land. Though it's harsh, many plants have adapted to this desert home. By spending time exploring the surrounding desert, visitors experience a more complete picture of the Rio Grande.
This bush is a plant that you find throughout most of the deserts of the world. This is called chrysote or greasewood. This is prickly pear over here, for anybody that doesn't know. This is a brown spine prickly pear. We've got like 7 different kinds of prickly pear that grow out here.
The immensity of the Rio Grande, the ferocity of the Rio Bravo. This is a river with ever-changing personalities. It can be harsh and desolate, or calm and comforting. It is a river that must be accepted on its own terms, and once experienced, it leaves you forever changed.
It sort of gives a person a sense of the right size of man, in a way. That's what I like about this mountain and wildlife and nature.
This series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $40 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. And by Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, helping to keep Texas wild with the support of proud members across the state. Find out more at tpwf.org. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.